Have you heard the latest about Ford? Out of nowhere, they've decided to stop making electric vehicles, EVs. It's quite the shocker, really, because Ford's a major player in the car world. They say they're facing a whole bunch of challenges that led them to this unexpected decision. And it's left everyone, from the auto industry to EV fans, quite startled. Ford's dive into EVs wasn't exactly smooth. They had some serious money losses, a few operational snags, and had to recall some cars. These issues, plus the impact on their employees and how they make cars, made Ford seriously rethink their EV game plan. Now they're switching gears and changing their direction in car manufacturing. It's got us all thinking, was Ford's leap into EVs a huge risk or a really smart move? That's something to ponder over. Let's step back and look at the start of Ford's EV adventure. Amid all the excitement about electric cars, Ford made waves with a big $22 billion plan to electrify their lineup, including models like Mustangs, F-150s, and Transits. Take the Mustang Mach-E, for example. It's an electric gem that blends timeless style with the latest tech. The E-Transit, that's more than just a van. It's a modern twist on a classic. And the big showstopper, the F-150 Lightning, an electric powerhouse set to launch in spring 2022. Ford wasn't just joining the EV trend. They were looking to change the game, aiming at everyday people and big businesses alike. With over 63,000 charging stations across North America, Ford was laying out a big strategy for dominating the EV market. Their production was a global affair, with facilities all over, including their $700 million star, the Rouge Electric Vehicle Center. Ford was thinking long-term, aiming for carbon neutrality by 2050. They were teaming up with Rivian and Volkswagen and investing heavily in battery tech. But here's the twist. It's not just about the cars. Ford was transforming the whole experience with regular software updates, a top-notch charging network, and marketing to bring EVs into the mainstream. The world better get ready. Ford's electric vision was quickly becoming reality. But then, Ford threw us a curveball. They're scaling back on F-150 Lightning production amid a bit of turbulence in the EV market. Yes, you heard that right. The Michigan Rouge Electric Vehicle Center, once a beacon of EV innovation, is now scaling down to just one shift. Starting April 1st, about 1,400 workers are facing some big changes. Some are being moved around, and their future is a bit up in the air. But here's something interesting. Despite these cutbacks, sales of the F-150 Lightning actually jumped by 55% last year. However, this is still a small slice of the total F-150 sales pie. Jim Farley, Ford CEO, is stirring the pot in a big way. He's all about finding the right balance between growth, profits, and keeping customers involved. It's not just about dialing back on EV production. It's more like he's juggling options like a pro. Now here's a surprising bit. Even with these cutbacks, their F-150 Lightning trucks are selling incredibly well. We're talking about 24,165 trucks sold last year in the US alone. That's a 55% increase from the previous year. Sure, it might seem small compared to the total 750,000 F-150s sold, but hey, it's a start. But let's dig a bit deeper. This move by Ford isn't happening in isolation. It's a trend we're seeing across the car industry. These major car manufacturers are noticing a tilt towards hybrids over fully electric models. And when it comes to the financial side, Ford's EVs are proving to be quite the expense, with a loss of about $36,000 on each of the 36,000 EVs they sent to dealers last year. That's a tough pill to swallow. Here's the kicker. Ford's switch up in production isn't just for kicks. They're strategizing, really putting their minds to work to find the ideal blend of gas, hybrid, and electric vehicles. Consider this scenario: a chef in the kitchen, meticulously working to perfect a recipe. That's Ford right now. They haven't turned their backs on electric vehicles, EVs, but they're certainly broadening their approach with a slow and steady strategy. Let's dive into the challenges they're facing. A big one is batteries. EVs need top-notch lithium-ion batteries, powerful, safe, and not too hard on the wallet. But creating these batteries to be both efficient and environmentally friendly is quite a task. Then, there's the whole issue of charging stations. For EVs to become a common sight, we need a lot of charging stations. And not just any stations, they need to be fast, compatible with different EV models, and conveniently located. Affordability is another big hurdle. The price tag on these electric vehicles can still cause a bit of sticker shock. The main culprit: those high-tech batteries that are pricey to produce. Despite Ford's attempts to bring costs down, the prices remain a significant barrier, especially for people in emerging countries. Here's another interesting point. As the enthusiasm for EVs grows, the demand for electricity is shooting up. But our power grids are like old rock bands trying to keep up with the latest hits. They're struggling. Upgrading these grids for the EV surge is not only expensive, but also a long-term endeavor. And don't forget about range anxiety. It's a real concern for EV drivers, akin to the boogeyman lurking under the bed. Sure, batteries are getting better, but the fear of running out of juice when a charging station is nowhere in sight is still a valid worry. All these challenges are making it tough for big players like Ford. They're trying to juggle making EVs that are reliable, affordable, and environmentally friendly. And it's like trying to solve a constantly changing puzzle. Now about Ford. They've decided to slow down their production of the F-150 Lightning. The buzz around electric trucks is cooling down, and Ford is adjusting their strategy to keep their finances on track. It's a bit like rearranging things to make the best of a tricky situation. But there's a twist to the plot. The production shift at Ford's Michigan Rouge Electric Vehicle Center is stirring things up for the workforce. Around 1,400 workers are in a bit of a spot. Some are heading to Ford's Michigan assembly plant, while others are looking at different roles or considering retirement. Ford isn't just sitting back, though. They're ramping up production of gas-powered Broncos and Rangers, showing they're diversifying their focus. It's about keeping the business healthy and the money flowing. Let's talk dollars and cents. Ford's been feeling the pinch on every EV, including the Lightning. They've cut prices to stay competitive, but it's a challenging situation. Yet CEO Jim Farley is holding firm, aiming to make Ford a key player in the electric pickup market. Ford's journey to EV success hasn't been exactly smooth. Missing sales targets has been more routine than unexpected. But Ford isn't ready to give up. They're really committing to their EV plans, investing both money and smart thinking to turn their electric ambitions into something tangible. They're not just building EVs, they're building EVs that are financially sensible. This story of electric exploration isn't unique to Ford. It's a narrative shared across the automotive industry. These traditional car manufacturers are adapting to the new tech-heavy demands and significant expenses of going electric. Ford's approach is about finding equilibrium, keeping a hand in the conventional car market, while also exploring the EV scene. It's as if they're trying to keep pace at two different dances. Now there's a big question mark hanging over consumer perceptions. Ford slowing down on EV production might leave customers a bit confused. It's like announcing a big bash and then dimming the lights. Could this dampen the overall EV enthusiasm? It's possible. We're all waiting to see how this impacts sales. And what about the government's stance in all this? Under President Biden, the push for greener vehicles has been in full throttle. The goal is ambitious: dominate the roads with EVs by 2032. But Ford hitting the brakes on EV production adds a twist to this eco-friendly car story. The government's been investing heavily in the EV sector, setting up charging stations at breakneck speed, all part of their plan to transition from gas-powered to greener vehicles. However, Ford's current strategy might put a dent in these government EV aspirations. You see, the government is really keen on getting car manufacturers to boost their EV production. This is all part of a larger plan to reduce carbon emissions and tackle climate change more aggressively. But here's where it gets a bit tricky. Ford's recent decision to scale back on EV production might complicate things. The EV market isn't booming as much as everyone had hoped, and the costs are giving companies like Ford quite a bit of trouble. This slowdown might mean that the government's ambitious EV targets could take a bit longer to achieve. Now let's focus on what Ford is planning next. Despite pulling back on some EV production, they're not slamming the brakes on innovation. Ford is actually working on developing their own EV platform. This is the groundwork for a new lineup of electric vehicles, including a full-size electric pickup and a 3-row SUV. It's Ford's way of signaling that they're still playing a key role in the EV market. But that's not all. Ford is really stepping up its game by retooling its factories for the future of electric vehicles. Take their Oakville assembly plant in Ontario, for example. They're turning it into a key spot for producing EVs and battery packs. It's a big deal and shows that Ford is seriously betting on electric vehicles. Their approach is quite bold, as they're gradually saying goodbye to some of their gasoline-powered models, like the Escape, Edge, and Transit Connect. This move is a strong indication of their commitment to a more electric future, despite the current hurdles in the EV market. Looking ahead, Ford has some pretty intriguing electric projects lined up. There's a new electric pickup truck scheduled for a 2025 release, and an electric SUV that's said to offer plenty of room and an impressive range. These aren't just new additions to their lineup. They're a part of Ford's broader strategy to grab a bigger share of the EV market. However, don't think Ford is completely walking away from gasoline vehicles. Classics like the F-150 and other gas-powered models are still a significant part of their lineup. Ford is striking a smart balance, holding on to their iconic models while steadily moving into the era of electric vehicles. So what's your take on Ford applying the brakes to their EV production? Do you see this as a broader trend that might sweep through the auto industry? Or is it more of a unique stumble by Ford? I'm curious about how this move might stir up the competition and influence our vehicle choices. Please feel free to share your perspectives in the comments. And remember, stay tuned for more updates and thoughtful conversations on this unfolding and dynamic story.